I want to thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, Restaurant Systems That Reduce Chaos and Increase Profits. Before I bring our amazing speaker, Ryan, here fully on, I just wanted to take a moment to tell you that are not familiar with PourMyBeer a little bit about us. So PourMyBeer is a self-pour dispense beverage company. We dispense anything that can be kegged, kombucha, cold brew, fun stuff like beer, wines, of course. Now also cocktail. OZ Tap House is doing lots of those and seeing a great success with it. All the dispense happens by the ounce and on the customer's account, so they never have to wait for a drink, and they can have their drink in hand, sometimes in less than 5 seconds, which is absolutely amazing efficiency. And obviously these days, with the current staffing crisis, being able to find and staff your house, it's very helpful when the guests can serve themselves. We have over 10,000 taps in the field, so lots of great locations. If you're ever feeling like exploring some great drinks in your area, just hop on PourMyBeer location map and find out the location closest to you. We have 400 locations and some more counting. So it's definitely becoming more popular, and self-pour is really fun. And Ryan can attest to that. Amazing. All right. So as for our webinar today, like I said, I have the pleasure to hang out with Ryan, who is known as the restaurant boss over here in Austin. It's nice and warm, definitely warmer than in Colorado when I left from there. So I'm enjoying this. I want to say a little bit about you, or I would love to hear. We have great slides ready, but I would love to hear your story. If you can share with us a little bit how you became an industry expert, what really brought you to hospitality industry in the first place.
So I've always been cooking my whole life. I was cooking. I'm kind of a product of the Food Network. So, when other kids were coming home from school and watching cartoons, I was like 12, 13 years old, and I would come home and watch those awesome old Food Network shows like Two Hot Tamales and the Ming Tsai and Mario Batali and all these great chefs. So I think from a very young age, I always wanted to be a chef. There were some really interesting things that happened in my career that kind of led me down that path. But the consulting side of things was, honestly, I was working in 5-star hotels, and my whole career, basically up until I was about 25 years old. So I had about 7-8 years between culinary school and really high-end 5-star hotel in Beverly Hills called the Peninsula, which is an amazing property. But then when I kind of went out more, I don't want to say on my own, but when I went to work in other properties, either smaller hotels or independent restaurants, it was kind of shocking to me, the lack of systems and processes and procedures, because I didn't know any different. And so when I finally went out on my own, I still sort of felt like, well, that was just them. Like, I'll be fine because I have the training. And then I went out on my own, and I struggled to make the systems, the processes, and the procedures. And the restaurant struggled, to be completely honest with you. I ended up in the hospital at about a year into operating 4 restaurants that I opened with a partner. And kind of a quick story, but the doctor was like, you're totally stressed out. You've got an ulcer. Like, you just need to take 2 weeks off work and chill out. And of course, if anyone out there can relate, like, if someone told you to take 2 weeks off work as a restaurant owner or operator, you'd be like, yeah, like, that's funny. No, can you just give me some pills or something? Because I can't take 2 weeks off work. And in reality, I was able to take 1 day off work. My wife was able to open up the restaurants that day and kind of help out with some stuff because she was helping me. But that was about it. If we had to go another day without me there, a lot of things were going to fail. No one else knew how to do the ordering. No one knew how to do a lot of the stuff that we were doing. And so what really ended up happening was I had to hire some coaches myself. And I hired a business coach and a life coach. And the things that we were able to do in the 6 months working together, I was able to take those 2 weeks off. I just had to push it about 6 months. And my wife and I went to a Tony Robbins event in Fiji for 2 weeks, where we did all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, we didn't eat food for 10 days. Obviously, that's not a problem I have anymore. But it was amazing. And what I really learned just through that process was not only how much there is to learn out there, how much I didn't know, and how much I could help others. And so when the opportunity came around about 10, 12 years ago to start helping other people in the industry, I jumped at it. And it is absolutely my passion. It is absolutely my calling. I love restaurants, but I struggle with, and I hated the feeling that I had as an employee coming into work, and then even as an operator coming into work every day, scared, nervous, unsure about the future. And so my absolute mission is, we need to change this industry. We need to make it a place where people are excited to come to work, where parents from the restaurant industry don't say to their children when they say, Dad, I want to be a chef, or Mom, I want to be a chef, or Mom, I want to operate a restaurant. We're like, no, 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 no. I even find myself saying it. Sometimes my son is like, Dad, can I be a chef like you? I'm like, well, hold on. Like, But why are we doing that? And so that's my mission. My mission is absolutely to help all the independent restaurant operators out there that have maybe felt something like what I felt and know that there's a better way to do it, have bigger dreams and bigger aspirations, but might be struggling with the tools or the knowledge or the know-how to actually implement these systems. And dare I say, have your team follow them, but have your team be excited about following them. So I could talk for hours about that.
Amazing. No, I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Super exciting. When was this picture taken? The one that we were looking at over
the
there?
One where I was eating? Is that what we were talking about last night? That picture was taken about, oh gosh, that was probably 2010. So 12 years ago now. That was an amazing restaurant called Central City Market. A lot like if that market existed today, we would have had self-pour because we did tons of beer and wine and awesome stuff. But we had to do the work ourselves. Now let the guests do it and have more fun doing it. But Central City Market would have been an awesome place for a PourMyBeer wall.
Awesome. So now I just wanted to let you know if sometimes the chat can get pretty busy. So I definitely want to make sure we can address all your questions. For that, we have a Q&A section over here. Feel free to post your questions. It's also on your right side. Feel free to post the Q&A, your questions in that area, and we will have Haley, our amazing content marketing manager, pop up. She will choose a couple of favorite questions at the end of each panel. And speaking of Haley, hello.
Hi, Tanya. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today.
I want to talk a little bit about free gift that Ryan actually was kind enough to share with us. Thank you so much for making your book available for anyone who is watching either this webinar right now or who's going to be watching the recording later. Can you tell us a bit more about Make It Happen?
Yeah, so I mean, the title says it all, right? Make It Happen, a tiny book for building a big restaurant business, and that's what we really wanted. I know when I was busy operating restaurants, and still to this day, I'm so busy with everything that, reading a 400-page book is like, oh my gosh. So we wrote, 112-page book. It's got big type in it. So it's quick, it's easy to read. I've had operators sit down and say, like, I sat down to read your book on an airplane and I finished it in an hour. And that's really what we wanted. We wanted kind of a quick, nothing held back, very honest approach to what it takes to, quite frankly, make it happen. And there's a lot of great information about systems and processes and procedures and onboarding your team and training your team and a lot of behavioral sciences that we've learned. And it's an awesome book. It's been an absolute pleasure to write the book. It took me a long time to get it written. And now that we have it out there, to be able to make it available, like we said, to anyone here completely free. There is a small shipping fee depending on where you are in the world, but it's such an honor and pleasure. PourMyBeer has been a great partner. We wanted to make sure that everyone here gets it for free. So go ahead to therestaurantboss.com/books and grab a copy of it today.
I heard I'm getting one for airplane as well. I'm super excited.
You are getting one, and I love it. I pulled it out and I put it on my desk this morning. I'll ship it to you.
I hope it's sitting in his car.
I pulled it out last night. I put it on the desk and I forgot to bring it.
It's all right. I'll be hanging out here for a while, so maybe I can drop it later. But I want it signed.
It will be signed, I promise.
Okay. Wonderful, amazing. I'm super excited. All right, I think we should be diving in now. I do want to share a goal of the webinar with you before I ask Ryan first question. We really hope that by sharing the knowledge of today's webinar with you, you will be able to reduce chaos and increase profits in your establishment while operating at maximum efficiency. That's ultimately our goal here. We'll be talking a lot about some cool systems. Ryan has, like you said earlier, lots of experience. So there's a lot of great knowledge bomb coming to you. I do want to share also that if at any point you have to jump off, I know that some people weren't able also to just tune in this early, so they'll be watching this recording later, and that's totally fine. We will be releasing this recording 2 days earlier in our Facebook group. It's called Trending, the Hospitality Industry News and Updates. So if you want to see it later, if you want to share it with anybody, just hop into that group. Make sure that you join, and you will get access to our recording earlier. Ryan, are you ready to
Let's do this. I was born ready.
You were born ready. I love it, love it, love it. All right, so as you know, things have been quite different in the past 2 years. It's a pleasure that we can finally sit in restaurants and not have any restrictions, at least here in Texas. But we've been witnessing...
Hook 'em horns.
We've been witnessing labor shortages, definitely left and right, and it's been challenging for the operators to keep the staff around. And I just wanted to see what's your opinion on this, and if you think that it's going to change anytime soon.
No.
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it'll change when we change, and the reality is that these staffing challenges have been here since the dawn of time. The only difference was employees, potential employees, team members had less options. So we were able to operate differently as business owners. And we've seen these shocks kind of travel through every industry, and it's taken a while to hit the hospitality industry. Hospitality is one of the largest employers in the world as a group of employees. And so the fact that it's taken as long to hit our industry as it did is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in that we kind of had that heyday, but now it's over. It's done. There's options, there's opportunities out there for team members. I hate to say this, but maybe a little less motivated, a little less educated, but still looking for fun careers, more flexibility. There's way more options out there than ever before with driving for Uber, driving for DoorDash, driving for Amazon, warehouses, all kinds of other opportunities, just side hustles at home, doing Amazon stores. So yeah, we have to compete. We have to do a better job as an industry to attract those team members to our team. So it's not going to change if we just sit back and wait for it to quote unquote get better. I mean, since I started consulting 12, 13 years ago, the number one complaint that I had, or the number one challenge that I had from operators was, I can't find good staff. I can't find good staff. I can't find good staff. So that's what I've been hearing for 12 years, and it's not going to change. You know, Howard Schultz, I just did a presentation for my members, and Howard Schultz, the founder, CEO, or ex-CEO of Starbucks, he has a quote, I'm going to butcher this, but it's something along the lines of, if we want our team members to exceed our guests' expectations, we have to make sure that we're exceeding our team members' expectations. Mm-hmm. I saw an interview with the new CEO from Amazon, Andy, I forget his last name, but when he took over the company 10 months ago, he set out his first mission statement as the new CEO of Amazon was to be the best employer on the planet. And 10 months later, in the interview this morning on CNBC, he was still standing behind that. Of the absolute biggest challenge that we face, the biggest challenge we will ever face, and our core mission is to be the best employer on the planet. We have to do a better job of setting up our operation to make it easier and to make it a better path for people to come want to work for us and to explore their careers. So no, I don't really see it changing. I see our industry changing. And like anytime we have a big challenge, we have to take a two-pronged approach. We have to take a short-term approach, which maybe isn't always the best approach, but we have to repair what's happening now. And then we're going to talk a lot about that later. And then we have to take the long-term approach, which we're also going to talk about, which is the better solution, the harder solution, the more expensive solution. And so we kind of need that stopgap measure today while we're working on those longer major industry changes. And the best example I have for this is going back to like the 70s during the gas shortages, the major gas crises. You know, when people were assigned days where you can only fill up your tank on a Monday, like Monday and Thursday or something like that, based on your license plate number, that's obviously not sustainable. So we had to do some things in the short term while we were developing longer term solutions. We had to pump more gas. We had to subsidize gasoline. We had to make deals with countries that we maybe wish we didn't make deals with, but we needed gasoline. It's just a reality. But the long-term solution to that, or the longer term, it was about a 50-year solution. We're now facing another crisis, but it was, we need fuel injection. We need better technology. We need to use less fuel because there's only so much we can pump. And so let's just kind of at a high level here, we're going to get into it more, but as we're approaching this challenge in our industry is, what are we going to do today to get us through the day? But then what do we need to be looking at as investments in our industry in your particular location? So 5 years from now, we're not still having this.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about guest expectations. So how have the guest expectations really changed in the past 2 years with all these things happening? What are the operators, what do they have to do to address them?
Well, you can really thank, again, Food Network and social media, these little devices that we have, our phones, for really raising the bar in our industry as far as guest expectations. I mean, of course, with COVID, we had some major changes where people want online ordering that they didn't necessarily care about before. They want curbside pickup. They want all these things, and they're not going to go backwards. But also, again, we've been seeing this trend for 15, 20 years where let's go back 20 years, not even that long ago, but let's go back 15, 20 years ago. If you wanted to experience food from one of the best restaurants in the world, you had to go to that restaurant, whether it was in the Czech Republic, in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, wherever it was. Maybe you read about it in a magazine, but if you wanted to experience the food, you had to get on a plane and travel there. Now we can experience food from all over the world on our phones. I mean, last night, my wife and I, as we're going to sleep, we're watching Taste Made on TV. I'm like, I didn't even know I had Taste Made, but we're watching the most beautiful show I've ever seen about bread in Greece. And I mean, you could almost taste the quality. And then you start to ask yourself the question, man, if that's what great bread is supposed to look like, how come the bread at my grocery store or the bread at my restaurant doesn't look like that? You have friends who are traveling the world eating at these restaurants and taking pictures of it, and then their friends are looking at the picture of the hamburger or the fried chicken or whatever it is and saying, how come it doesn't look like that at my local restaurant? Yeah. So your guests' expectations are higher than they have ever been. Your team members' expectations, we're going to talk about that a lot today, are higher than they have ever been. And so we can't just meet expectations. In fact, this slide said earlier, meet expectations. I'm like, no, we have to exceed expectations. If all you do is meet your guests' expectations, you're not going to impress anyone. People aren't going to want to rave about your restaurant. They're not going to want to come back. You have to exceed expectations. But when people hear that word exceeding expectations, they think about, like, we have to go way over the top. We have to do crazy things, right? If someone's in the market for a Honda, we don't have to sell them a Ferrari. We just have to give them a great experience at the dealership when they're buying their Honda and make sure that it's a good, safe car. We don't have to go all the way to a Ferrari or a Lambo. So you'll see on this slide here, there's really 2 steps to exceeding an expectation. I think this is going to be really important for everyone to write down. If you're taking notes, you should be taking notes, by the way.
Or screenshot.
Or screenshot. But if you should take notes. You should write this down because it's that important. There's a lot of human psychology about writing things down and how it gets into the brain. But write this down. Step 1, know the expectation. We can't exceed an expectation if we don't know what it is. We're just guessing. We're throwing darts at a blank wall. Mm-hmm. And then step 2, you only have to do 1% more. You don't have to do 10, 20, 30% more. You just have to do 1% more. So I think on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about what I just kind of touched on, which is, how do we know our guests' expectations? Mm-hmm. Are you watching Food Network? Are you watching Tastemade? Are you watching the same shows that your guests are watching? Something crazy, I don't remember exactly, but it was in the upper 70%, like 76 or 78% of households, of the households that you're looking for, the middle income to upper income households, are watching and receiving some sort of food-driven content. Food Network, Tastemade, Food TV, food magazines, Martha Stewart, Epicurious, whatever it is. The question is, are you? And it's amazing when I ask this question, when I do trainings, how many people in the audience, there could be a couple hundred people in the audience, and I'll say, who here gets a subscription to a food magazine? And these are restaurant owners, and like 5 hands go up.
And that's crazy because if you think about it, there's a reason why these shows are so popular and so many people are watching them.
Right.
Should be the restaurant owners to watch them for inspiration as well.
No matter what you do for marketing, no matter how great your service is, no matter how great your food is, if I come to your restaurant and I'm looking through a magazine this week and I see pictures of hamburgers, if they're doing a feature on the best hamburgers in the world, and then I come to your restaurant and your hamburger is kind of like, compared to those, there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to impress that guest at this point because their expectation was not only was it not met, it was not exceeded. And so this is a game changer. I'm telling you out there right now, if you get anything from today, it's that you have to exceed your guests' expectations. You have to exceed your team members' expectations. And the way we do that is find out what their expectations are, do 1% more. Why is no one doing a membership model in the restaurant industry? Well, 1 or 2 restaurants are, but that's going to be a trend that we're going to start seeing soon. I'm working with some clients right now on developing different types of membership models where their guests can pay a small fee and get more than they would normally, but it's going to be a recurring charge. Those are things that we would learn from other industries. We have to look at the way that other industries are doing things. So when you think of your competition, if you're a pizza restaurant, don't just say, well, there's no competition in my city. I'm the only pizza restaurant. There's a ton of competition in your city because people aren't eating pizza, they're eating food. And there's a million places that serve food. And guess what? You're competing against the pizza restaurant 3,000 miles away because people are seeing what they're doing. So I wanted to make sure that we really touched on not just your type of restaurant, not just your restaurant, but also other restaurants, but all industries we have to be looking at to get that baseline of what our guests are expecting.
Yep, absolutely. Did you want to touch base on any other points on the exceeding guest?
Yeah, I mean, the last one, do you talk to your guests? Do you find out where they're eating if they're not eating at your restaurant? I get this question a lot of like, Ryan, well, should I do surveys? I'm not a huge fan of surveys. I think people just fill them out to get out of the way. I think people just fill out the survey and they're like, all right, I did the survey. Can I leave now? So one of my favorite questions to ask your guests is, hey, if you weren't eating with us tonight, where would you have gone? What was your second choice tonight? And people will come up with all kinds of answers for that, because we all know when we're going out to eat, it's like, should we go here or should we go there? And so by asking that question, it's an easy answer, and that will start to get your brain thinking about, that's our competition, that's our category. It's not only just pizza, like I said. Maybe it was, we were either going to go to X Mexican restaurant or your restaurant. All right, well, now I know that falls into the same category as my restaurant. Now I need to look at their prices, their service, their offerings. Maybe ask them the question also, what was the deciding factor? Why did you choose us instead of them? Maybe they'll say, well, you guys do like $1.99 kids menu on Tuesday. Okay, fine. That means that that's what people want. Mm-hmm. That's good. Do more of that. Mm-hmm. Maybe they say, because we love your drinks. Great. Now we know our guests are interested in our drinks. So talk to your guests. Ask a better question. Get a better answer. This is a bonus. I didn't put it on the slide. Write this one down. Stop asking your guests, how is everything?
Yeah.
How is everything? What's the answer to that?
I always say great.
Great.
Even if it's not.
That's right. How is everything? Great. How is everything? Fine. How is everything? Good. Basically, it's get away from me as fast as possible. I'm eating my food.
Yeah.
I want you to ask this question. Is that beer exceeding your expectations?
Ooh.
Is that steak exceeding your expectations?
I like that.
If it's a whole table, if you're just doing your manager table touch, hey folks, did your meal tonight exceed your expectations? Did your service or did our service exceed your expectations? Now you're going to start to get, sorry, I'm having fun here.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're going to start to get the steak was great. It was just cooked a little more than the steak was great, but I thought it was going to be coming with French fries and it came with a mashed potato. Or, the beer's great, but service was a little slow. We've been waiting for our bill for 10 minutes. Rather than, how is everything? Fine. So is X exceeding your expectations? That's my absolute favorite question.
I'm going to add on to that before we jump into the staff. Just wanted to ask, how do you then address it when you hear that feedback? Because you're going to hear a little bit more detailed feedback on
yes,
that.
You are.
Do you have any specific recommendations for that?
So do yourself some mental exercises. Do some meditating before you do this, because some of you are like, I can't ask that question. If you're afraid to ask that question, it's because you're afraid of the answers. And when I talk to clients all the time, they're like, I can't ask that question. I'm like, why not? They're like, because I'm afraid what people are going to say. Mm. Don't you want to know? I mean, you don't want to. Like, it doesn't make us feel good. But you can't fix a problem if you don't know that a problem exists. So do some mental exercises. And the mental exercise I would ask you to do is start focusing on the fact that a complaint is a gift. When I do webinars for my team, I always start with a slide with a gift wrap package, and it's a complaint is a gift. That is a gift. You were just given the greatest gift of all time. When someone who's eating in your restaurant is now doing two things. One, they're telling you what you could have done better.
Yeah. And
they're telling you while they're still there. They're not telling their friends and their neighbors where you have no opportunity to respond back. You have no opportunity to fix it. Another little thing to write down. Like I said, we knew this was going to happen yesterday. We're just going to go on and on.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing for you to write down. I love this, by the way. I get so passionate about this. Write this down right now. No guest leaves your establishment unhappy. Period, end of story. No guest leaves unhappy. If I go to Best Buy to buy a TV and then I get home and the TV doesn't fit where they said it would, or it doesn't produce the quality I thought, or the setup is difficult, I can't do anything about that. I have to package it up, take it off my wall, put it into a box, drive it back to Best Buy. Now I'm just off. Mm-hmm. But Best Buy can't fix that for me. Yeah. They could, but it's a pain. When you have a guest in your restaurant, you could fix anything before they leave. You should never have a guest leaving your restaurant without having their expectations exceeded. And if they did, or if your expectations weren't exceeded, fix it before they leave. Give them an opportunity to come back. Invite them back. Give them a free dessert to come back. Do something, but don't let them leave unhappy. You should never have anything worse than a 4-star review online because they're in your restaurant. I understand this is getting a little harder with delivery. That's a whole other conversation about tools we can use for that. But a guest that's in your restaurant should never leave unhappy. Period. End of story.
Yeah, the complaint is basically opportunity to improve and really
that's right.
Make
it's
it
a
happen
gift
and fix
to
it.
Improve, to find out, to make it happen.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. Well, this was a little
Hashtag
longer.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Yes, that's Ryan's book we mentioned earlier. All right, hopping on to the next topic here. How have hospitality workers' expectations changed, and how are operators supposed to address those?
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit earlier, where there's more options, and with more options, their expectations are higher. I mean, we have to start asking ourselves the question of, would you work for you? Would you do the work at the pay that you're expecting other people to do in the environment that you have? Because the reality is, unfortunately, a lot of that answer is no. And people are voting. Now, we used to say guests vote with their wallet. That's very true. Your team members are voting with where they're choosing to show up to work. If they're starting a job with you and then quitting in 2 days, if we're blaming them, we're not looking at this correctly. If you have a team member who starts work with you and then doesn't show up to work the next day or 2 days later, that's a me issue. That's a us issue. That's something that we have to look at. Did we not onboard them properly? Are we not setting the expectations properly? Are we not providing them a paved path to success properly with systems and processes and procedures and all stuff we're going to talk about here in a second? But yeah, absolutely, staff expectations have dramatically changed because they have more opportunities, and they have opportunities to go work for companies like Amazon that are going to pay for their college and create really safe, really positive work environments for them and give them medical day one. I don't know if you guys saw the Amazon commercial, day one medical benefits. That's huge, right? Yeah. So I understand that we may not be able to do some of that stuff, but we have other things we can do. We can get people promoted way faster. If you start in an Amazon warehouse, sure, you can have a career with them, but it might take 20 years to get to a 6-figure salary. If you have a good, busy restaurant, we could take a cook and get them to a 6-figure salary in 3 or 4 years, if not faster, if we're doing things right. So we have things that we can offer that maybe those huge companies can't, but their expectations are higher.
Awesome.
So this last question is, do you know what your team members want? What are you hoping to get out of your time at this company? That's your job. Your job is to help them fulfill those goals, to help them fulfill those dreams. When I ask my clients a lot of times when they're struggling with a team member, the first thing I'll say is, well, what's that team member's goals? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know like what they want? They're like, no, I don't really talk to them. I'm like, do you know their kids' names? They're like, no. How are you expecting to motivate your team to get the leverage that you need to motivate your team to get them to do the things that they're struggling with to help grow and develop them if we don't even know what they want? If we haven't even taken the time to find out what do they want? What are they struggling with? Maybe they're just struggling to pay their bills right now. Well, that's fine, but what can we do to help them? Maybe they're struggling because they've got some medical bills from the past, or maybe they're not happy with the apartment that they're living in. It's not in a safe enough area. It's not in an area where their kids can get the education they want. Great, then let's sit down with them and put together a plan. Not just say, I need you to work harder, but put together a plan that says, you know what, in 1 year, I can get you to this amount of income, but here's what I need from you.
Yeah.
Here's what I need from you. So you have this goal and I have this opportunity. Let's build the bridge. So yeah, you can move into a nicer apartment. You can get your kids into a better school, but you can't come to work late. You can't skip on the checklist. You can't do these things that you're doing. Otherwise, that's never going to happen. But I can help you get there if you want. So we got to know what they want.
Communication is the key there for sure.
Yeah.
As in any relationship.
Yeah.
All right. Before we jump into the last question of this section, I just want to encourage again, we have a Q&A here that Haley will be popping out soon, asking a question, 2 of her favorite questions actually. Ryan will just have to answer them really fast because he's talking a lot and taking a long time, but it's great. I love all the knowledge bombs that you're
dropping. By the way, we're not the same height. I'm just slouching over dramatically so my head doesn't get cut off.
I'm not that tiny. I can't. Yeah, but I don't think they could see it. Right. Anyway, back to business. So now let's talk about the right system that you have to create for hiring and for retaining employees and for developing the employees. I think we're going to have to go one slide.
Yeah, let's go back just one slide to staff expectations here really quick. Because again, part of it is talking with your team members and talking to find out their expectations. But I think this is really important. These are statistics that came from Deloitte, big consulting company. They do a lot of research in different industries. And last year in 2021, it was the highest turnover year for the industry ever. The industry normally averages about a 70% turnover, which is terrible, by the way. But 70% has been manageable. Last year, the industry experienced 126% turnover, which is, up 40%. But look at this. If you add all these numbers up, this is 99%. So basically 99% of team members left the restaurant industry last year for other industries because of things we can control. Look at this, 28% left for higher pay. You may not feel like you can control that, but you can. 23% left for a more consistent schedule. You can absolutely control that. 17% left for, look at this one, lack of professional development and growth. That's what we were talking about here, is put together those growth plans with them. 16% quality hours, 15% left to environment and work culture. So while these are challenges, I'm not going to sit here and say that these are easy, but these are things that we control. We're the owner of the business. We're the operator of the business. We can control the environment. We can control the training. We can control the pay that they make. We just have to make the commitment that we're going to work through this. So this just gives you kind of a quick idea, if you haven't seen the stat yet, of what your staff's expectations are and why they're leaving the industry. So I live by an expression. Again, I'm going to tell you to write this one down. Managed systems develop people. Managed systems develop people. I can just take the next 26 minutes or 24 minutes and sit here and say managed systems develop people over and over and over again, because it's the key. It's the ticket. If you're looking for that one secret or that one hack, it's managed systems develop people. And what I mean by that is, I love this little GIF that we put up here.
Little fire.
Right. I wanna help you become a fire preventer instead of a firefighter. You know, we hear this all the time, and whenever I'm on the phone with clients and speaking in large events, people just say like, Ryan, I want to do all that, but I'm putting out fires all day. I'm putting out fires all day. Well, yeah, you're putting out fires all day because we haven't built a fireproof restaurant, or in your case, a fireproof business. The reality is, when was the last time anyone on this call experienced a real fire? In my life, I've only seen one real fire. And the reason we don't have fires anymore, or in such a minuscule amount, is because we've improved the technology of building equipment. We build to better code. We use better electrical wires. We have circuit breakers. We build, look at your kitchens. They're basically bulletproof. You can't catch a kitchen on fire unless we introduce grease to it. But FRP is not flammable. Concrete is not flammable. Stainless steel is not flammable. There's nothing in your kitchen flammable, so it's not going to catch on fire. When we put the systems and the processes and the procedures and the checklists in place, we build a fireproof business. We build a business that doesn't catch on fire. You don't get phone calls every morning about the credit card machine went down, I don't know what to do. The system is down, I don't know what to do. We're out of this, I don't know what to do. We need procedures for all of that, so you stop getting those phone calls. And when you stop getting those phone calls, you can work, I hate to say it, but you could work on your business instead of in your business. It's a great expression. I just hate saying it because it's totally overplayed, right? I'm going to teach you how to work on your business instead of in your business, but it's so very true. Systems are reliable as people aren't. Systems are reliable as people aren't. So when we talk about manage systems and develop people, the thing I need you to be sure of is that you're managing the systems. The floor was swept or it wasn't swept. Then if someone doesn't sweep it, it's not them personally. It's not an attack on them. It's just that the system wasn't done. You were supposed to sweep the floor and you didn't. It's black and white. Then we get into the second part, the leadership part, the developing people, where if we find that a person is consistently not following systems that they're supposed to follow, now we have to coach that person. We have to develop that person.
Oh, that was a good knowledge bomb right here. Can I ask, let's make it fast, but
Yeah.
I do want to know, I have a little bonus question here about developing and retaining system. How do you create the perfect management system for your day-to-day or weekly requirements and operations?
Yeah, so it's really going to become the same thing, which is a system is as reliable as people aren't. So in restaurants, systems really look like prep sheets, order guides, checklists, recipes, build sheets, purchase allotment systems. Right, we have a massive raising food cost environment right now, or just cost of goods sold environment. So we need systems that say, let's just do some simple math here. Hey, we're going to do $100,000 in sales this month, which means if we want to have a 30% cost of goods sold, you can't spend more than $30,000 on your food and beverage purchases this month. No different than next month, or labor, sorry. So if we're going to do that same $100,000 in sale and you want to hit a 30% target labor cost, instead of just randomly scheduling your schedule, create what's called a costed schedule or a labor allotment system, where when you create a schedule, you know how much the schedule is going to cost you. If your schedule is going to cost you more than $30,000 for the month, you're not going to hit your labor cost numbers. So these are the systems that we use not only to tackle the big problems, but also to tackle our day-to-day, week-to-week, hour by hour.
Yeah. Can we hop on the next slide over here? Because Ryan has a few systems there in place, like prep sheets, order guides.
Yeah, we just talked about that. Prep sheets, order guides, recipes, build sheets, purchase allotment systems, labor allotment systems. I mean, the list goes on and on. But this is just an example. These are probably systems that you're already familiar with.
We will leave the slide on just for a bit while we have Haley come up over here. Hopefully we can see her. And she is going to talk a little bit. Haley?
Hello.
What? Are you there? Sorry.
Yeah.
I can see you very little. But did you have any great question in the Q&A section that you want to bring up?
Yeah, so David asked, he said, we're using regional business to deliver and DoorDash food and still face a challenge based on restaurant staffing. Do you have any insights to alleviate dependencies in these mutual agreements?
How can we get away from some of these? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously developing your own online ordering systems, so you don't need DoorDash and pay their massive fees for the online ordering. Now, there's ways that you can use DoorDash and some of these third parties to just do the delivery for you, where if you create the order and send it to them, it's a much smaller fee for them to do the delivery than if they find the customer and create the order. So one, I would say developing your own online ordering, developing your own marketing. The second part of that would be developing your own delivery network, which is probably a little bit more of a challenge. I do work with a lot of clients that we do our own online ordering and we push to DoorDash for delivery because the delivery is a really big challenge that they're better equipped for. But if we're trying to eliminate our dependencies on the third parties, those are going to be the two ways that we're going to have to do it. Well, really three. We have to develop our online ordering, create the marketing, and then do the deliveries ourselves.
Perfect. Let's hop in the second question because
Sure.
we got to keep rolling.
Let's go.
Second question.
And then the next question is sort of going off of that from Ty. He said he's looking at a dependency on a local bar and restaurant utilizing Toast POS system and the restaurant's barcode in his poorhouse to order online and deliver from them. It's only a minute away. What are your thoughts on that, or has it been done yet?
If it's only a minute away, I'd say get a 3-wheel bicycle and do it yourself. Get an awesome 3-wheel bicycle, put some great branding on it, wear some cool hats, have fun with it, and if it's a block away, just hire a guy to drive the food yourself. The fees you're going to pay for someone to come into your restaurant and take it across the street is going to be a monster.
Great. Wonderful. I'm going to make this one shorter. Again, I'm going to encourage everybody ask more questions because we will be doing a Q&A page. So if we don't get to your questions in this, we'll definitely cover it on our page and you'll be able to read Ryan's answers to those later. Alrighty, hopping into the next section over here, our second section of today's webinar. Let's talk about automations. I particularly love that. So yep. What types of automation are you seeing in the field? Which ones are really popular, increasing efficiency?
Yeah, so like we said earlier, with kind of like a two-prong approach, right? The first prong is going to be we need to use less, and then we need to get more out of what you already have. And so what we're really seeing out there are a lot of hub and spoke models. If you're a multi-unit operator, you need to be looking at a hub and spoke model. If you're not familiar with a hub and spoke, just think of a car like a bicycle wheel where you have the hub in the middle and then all the spokes that branch out from it. So if you're a multi-unit operator, what we need to do is instead of having specialized labor in every branch, we need to bring less specialized labor to one location and do the really hard things, right? The reason a lot of the big corporate brands are able to, frankly, kick the independents' butts when it comes to pricing is because they're able to get all of their talent, their systems, their processes, their accounting centralized into one location instead of having, right, as an independent operator, it's just part of it. We have a bookkeeper for one location. We have a general manager, right? So if you're a multi-unit operator, you need to be doing research on hub and spoke models and find ways to do your production in a central location and then get it out to those. That's one of the biggest things that we're seeing. And again, when I talk about other industries have been using hub and spoke models for decades. Right, so we need to start seeing more of that. And the big guys in the restaurants have, but even independents, I have 3 or 4 clients right now to have the hub and spoke model working. One is developing it right now. It's a little bit of an expense up front, but it's going to allow for massive growth at very low labor levels going forward. But the biggest thing that we're seeing that even independents can start taking advantage of are these automation and robots. I mean, I'll never forget about 5-6 years ago, I do a state of the restaurant industry address. I try to make it all formal. I wear a suit and tie and everything. We have fun with it. But one of the things I said was like, technology, yeah, but it's not really going to be a game changer for you. Boy, was I wrong, and I will admit it, especially now. Like, restaurants need technology. If you are not good with technology, get good with technology or get people on your team. We are going to need software. We are going to need systems. We are going to need technology to help lower our labor costs as we go forward. And here's just a quick list of some of the things that are actually available today that you need to be looking at today, not waiting 5 years for it when it's too late. Like sushi machines. I work with sushi clients that literally all they have to do is cook the rice, and then they load the rice into the machine. The machine spits out the nori with the rice on it. They roll the roll, and there's actually machines that can roll it for you, but they fill them and roll them, and then they put them in a sushi cutting machine where you just pull the handle down, and these 8 little spinning blades go whoop, and it's all cut perfectly. And now on a sushi assembly line, like a Chipotle, picture it, they're quick service sushi restaurants, they're able to eliminate nearly 2 talented positions for the cost of a $2,000 or $3,000 machine. So sushi robots, pizza machines. If you're in the pizza business, there's something called Picnic, Picnic, and then there's another one called the Pizza Cube. Here's the problem with Pizza Cube. They're sold out for 3 years. I have clients looking to buy pizza cubes in their restaurant right now. They called last week and they're like, we could probably get you to 2 units you need somewhere between like 2024 and 2025. Like, come on.
Look into that business, guys.
But this is what's happening. If you're still making pizza by hand, you need to be looking at some pizza automation, automated fry machines, right? Where you just dump the fries in, hit the button, and when 3 minutes is up, it comes up. That's going to prevent waste. It's going to make things easier. Food lockers, you can just have one person who's putting the food in the locker, and then when the guests come in, they're able to grab the food themselves. They don't need to interact with anyone. They've already paid. Look at other industries. Amazon's been doing this for a while. I love the Amazon lockers because I don't have to talk to anyone. When I have something to return, I just go to a locker, scan my phone, drop it off in there. You need to be looking at food lockers, self-ordering kiosks, which are quite obvious. You want to see really good kiosks? Get on an airplane. Go to the airports right now. I mean, the kiosks, the technology that they've been developing at the airports is unbelievable. Delivery robots are super fun. We're probably a couple years away from this. I know you were saying you have a client that has or you've worked with a client that has a robot that delivers food at their table. I've stayed at a hotel that brought me warm cookies and milk with a robot. It rang the doorbell. It got in the elevator. It was super creepy, but it was awesome. But delivery robots are out there. You can do some research on them, and they're cruising through like San Francisco right now. They're little robots with sirens on them so people don't step on them. If you pick them up, they shake and sirens go off because people try to steal them, but they're awesome. But honestly, right, we're here to talk about automation. A self-pour wall, and I'm not the expert on it. I love them. A lot of my clients use it, but why don't you just talk a little bit about how this is going to help with automation?
Yeah, a little bit about self-pour beverage wall. So as you can see, there's one beautiful behind us. As I mentioned earlier, we're in Ounce Staff House in Austin, Texas. They're utilizing their amazing self-pour beauty for serving cocktails, for serving beers, ciders, you name it. Wine are very popular as well. And one of the big things about self-pour beverage wall is obviously it's a part of automation. I can click this for you. See that sign? It's a big part of automation and really simplifying your operations, being able to really know what's happening with your product, being able to reduce waste on beverages drastically. We've seen some insane numbers. We got some great case study. I highly recommend everybody hopping on this link that we have listed on over here, PourMyBeer.com/case study. You're going to be able to read up on some amazing success stories. And one of them is going from a 25% waste on your beverages from a traditional bar setup to less than 3%. That is obviously ginormous. Just imagine all that money is going now back to your pocket instead of just staying somewhere on the floor or somewhere in between the tips.
The angel share.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And I did want to throw in some numbers too, because I recently went to visit one of our awesome PourMyBeer friend members in Virginia. And they're doing some absolutely awesome things. It helps when you have obviously POS system that's integrated with PourMyBeer, which we have a few out there. They're able to check their guests within less than 10 seconds, and that's the time that it takes not only to check them in, because it's really just ID check and setting up their credit card, tying it to our Pour card, but the guest is actually able, if they're pretty quick and they know what they want, they're able to have their beer or their wine or their cocktail within 10 seconds in their hands. Like, how do you do that with a traditional restaurant?
Yeah,
like, do you like have a staff member run and it's just impossible.
And the world has just changed. Like, we're busier. We have kids. Kids have time. I have one kid, and 5 days a week after school, he's got a program. Like, we just don't have time to do the stuff we used to do.
Definitely. And it's huge on the obviously saving the time to the customer and giving them super fun, cool experience. But a big one on this particular location, it's called Craftworks. Definitely look them up. If you have some extra time to browse the internet, they're able to serve more than 200 customers with 3 staff members in the house. And now, mind me, this is also including their kitchen staff. So there's literally one person checking people in, one as a food runner. Everybody's ordering from the QR code from the food, so nobody's needing to take order, and then there's one person in the kitchen. It's a great spot. So if you have a chance and if you want to see efficiency at its best, just plan your trip to Virginia. They have a lot of great breweries too. Bunnyman Brewing is one of them. Just giving a shout out to another customer here. But again, this technology doesn't only help you with labor needs and automations in your establishment. It drastically reduces waste and provides super fun experience to the customers too. So I highly recommend checking out the case study so you can see some more stats on there and really hear some great success story. And I'll pass the word back to Ryan over here.
Awesome.
All righty. All right. So we want to talk a little bit about. You good?
Yeah.
All right. So we want to talk a little bit about automations that you can add. I can flip that.
Don't worry about it.
Automation that you can add to your operations. How do you know which automation is right for you? And how do you know if it's something suitable for your establishment?
It's really simple. Just ask yourself this question here. Will the automation help you serve better food and better beverage with better service at a better price? If it can't check all 4, then it's not the right thing for you. If it checks all four, and it can't check two of the three, it can't be like, well, we're going to get better food at a better price, but the service is going to go down. Like, whenever we're looking at making any changes, if you're looking at changing the cheese in your restaurant, you have to ask yourself the question of, is this going to be a better product, better price, better customer experience? If not, you're not going to make the change. So automation, again, what this is going to come down to, well, I'll wait for you to ask the question, but really it's can you answer that question? Will the automation help improve things? And in many cases, because our guest is changing, the answer is yes. 5 years ago, probably no. Mm-hmm. But the environment's changing, our guest is changing, their expectations are changing, they're getting more used to it. Pretty soon we're going to get into an Uber and there won't be a driver. So yeah, mm-hmm. Why would it be weird to order your own food and have the food delivered by a robot? If they're driving me to the airport, absolutely.
We had a list of automations. Obviously, there are more than just the bullet points that we listed. For those that are listening today and are like, oh, wow, that's great. Where do I even start? Kind of unsure. How can they identify, and maybe just like a point to start? What would you focus on?
Well, I think it's really going to come down to, what is your, like we talked about earlier, like what is your guest desiring? Like I just said, we only have one kid. I don't know how people with 3, 4 kids, 2 kids do it. We have one kid, and between baseball and piano and golf and tennis and acting classes and religious school and everything else he does, I mean, literally 7 days a week, this kid has a daily or an afternoon activity. So us as parents, if we're going to go out to dinner, what we're looking for is fast. Like, we'll come here because, like you said, I can walk right in, we can grab a beer, we can order some food, we can be in and out in 20, 30 minutes and have the full experience that we want. But if we were to go to a traditional sit-down restaurant, we might have to wait 15 minutes for a table, wait another 10 or 15 minutes for the server to take our order, wait another 10 or 15 minutes for our food. We don't have an hour and a half. When we pick our kid up from baseball, it's 7 o'clock. He goes to bed at 8:30. Like, we got to get going. But that's assuming that I am your target guest. So automation is going to be great for me. If your target guest is forgive me for saying this, I know 65-year-old doctors are going to come here. But if your target guest, if your restaurant is made up of older, well-established, they're looking for an experience, well, then certain automations aren't going to work for you. Certain ones will, certain ones won't. Things like a pizza robot in the back could be great. A French fry robot in the back can be great. But it comes down to knowing who your guest is, what they want, what their expectations are, and then we can start to look from them.
Look at this cute little robot.
I know, moving pizzas from the left side of the kitchen to the right side of the kitchen.
Isn't it freaking awesome? I love technology. It's so fun. It's so fun. Anyway, we are coming to an end of the second section. We did power through it pretty quickly because this restaurant is going to get open in 7 minutes, and I already saw a few people walking by, so we don't want to wait here for too late until it gets really busy and we shut down the music so you guys can hear us. So let's have Haley pop up again and ask 2 quick questions, hopefully.
Sure.
We can make them happen fast.
I'd love to.
All right.
Well, fast I can't promise.
Yeah, I know. With you, I don't know. All right, Haley, you take it over.
Okay. Robert asked, he said he's considering spot-on POS for a single barbecue food truck. Is a system like that worthwhile for a smaller operation?
It's challenging for me to comment on a particular POS because, again, everyone's needs are different, and there's so many out there, and there's so many that are great and some that aren't so great, and I don't really think it's fair for me to say spot on yes or spot on no. But maybe the better question, or that I'm hearing there, is, because I think you said something like that, yes, you need a POS system. Like, for people that are still taking orders, like writing them down on a piece of paper, like, absolutely not. I mean, we want to talk about base level technology. So I'm hoping that's helpful, but absolutely, we need a POS system. Don't go overboard. You don't need something that does more than what you need, but to speed up credit card processing, to taking orders, to tracking statistics and data, and then of course the integrations that can come later from that. But absolutely, I can't imagine a business today not operating with some sort of a POS system.
I do want to wrap this up, but I do want to also encourage that Ryan will be able to help us answer any other questions that are out there. We will have a full Q&A page. We'll be sending that later next week, as well as the recording when we have that finalized. Before I wrap things up, I just wanted to share some of our upcoming events with you, listeners. We are going to be at National Restaurant Association show in Chicago. That's coming up next month. I'm super excited to set up a booth and have some great Chicago beers. We got some wonderful PourMyBeer family locations. We're going to be doing also a cool after party and and stuff like that. So definitely stay tuned. If you're in Chicago or if you're planning to fly in for the show, definitely get in touch with us and let's grab some great self-pour beers together. And the other one, which I'm particularly excited because that's in my backyard, Colorado, Denver. We are doing a lunch and learn workshop of the Stanley Beer Hall, which is a huge, amazing restaurant, a great setup. You can watch the Rockies as you're sitting and grabbing your beer or self-pour margarita, which is, by the way, their best sellers. So we'll definitely be talking about keg cocktails. Hopefully Ryan could fly in and just hang out with us too. We'll see. I'll try to convince him for that. But that's it for the events. I'm really grateful that so many of you got to join us. I am extra grateful here to this guy that dropped his knowledge bombs with us. Really appreciate your time. As you saw, there's a lot more questions that you're going to have to answer for that
that's fine.
Q&A
I'm
page.
happy to help.
So Ryan is going to have some writing to do, but he definitely will help us with that. And I also appreciate every one of you. And whoever is watching this recording, make sure to hit follow on our YouTube channel. Also check out Ryan's YouTube channel so you guys can benefit from his wonderful content. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Anything finally you want to add to this too?
Grab your free book and get some Pour My Beer.
Yeah, amazing. Everyone, have a wonderful day, and thanks again for hopping on. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great one.
Bye, guys.